on a Sunday morning to help get us started for a new week. We welcome you on behalf of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and his assistant, Minister Ishmael Muhammad. Please make sure that you turn to your brother and your sister, give them a hug. It's all right, get some love to your family. Shake a hand, offer the greetings. Look at the brothers, they are on. Come on, brother. It's all right, offer some love. Come on now. It's okay, it's just something that we were taught to hate ourselves and to dislike ourselves and not to love ourselves. So oftentimes when somebody says show a brother some love, we kind of hesitate because we think that's kind of funny or something weird or out of the ordinary. But it's not. It's natural for a black man to love another black man in righteousness, to show respect, to show kindness, to show honor to the black man, because inside the black man and the black woman is the presence of God. So when you embrace a black man, you're only embracing God. Oh, I wish somebody was listening. Brother, when you embrace your black brother and love your black brother in righteousness, when you respect your black brother, when you refuse to cuss your black brother or steal or murder your black brother, you are only doing that to God. And vice versa when we go in the negative. If we keep that at the forefront of our minds, then oftentimes our position and attitude changes towards each other. If you knew that you were about to murder one human being that's in the image and likeness of God, if you really understood that, it would stop you from pulling that trigger. If you knew you were about to rob someone who contains the characteristics and spirit of God, you would stop and think about what you and I were doing. And when you're getting ready to cuss somebody out from head to toe, y'all know them days, right? Some of y'all just did it yesterday, on the way here when you got cut off. But when you think about it, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us in our study guide, we rise above that emotion. Go ahead. And we think a little deeper and we say, wait a minute. In reality, I am cussing at an image and likeness of God, and really the God is residing in all of us. The scripture says that God does not dwell in houses made of stone and brick. Meaning God is not behind these blue curtains, sitting there in a lazy boy. Let me listen to what the Muslims are doing and saying. He's not back there. But really the God is sitting right in the seats in all of you. God is present in each and every one of us, and some of us come up in our mind and say, well, no, God can't be present in me. Well, the scripture answers that argument. The scripture says that they had the form, look at you, flesh and bone, the form of godliness, but what did they do? The scripture says that they denied the power within. And the power within is greater than the power without. That's right. Everybody all right? So for us to continue to deny the power within, we are really denying our own selves. And this is why the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in his lecture some time ago, but the title of it is God's Healing People. Power, God's healing power. And all of us today need a little bit of healing. Is that right? Anybody need a little healing up in here? Put your foot up too. Come on now. All of us need some healing. Some of us may say, I need my bank account healed. But before we get to our pockets, we have to deal with our minds. That's right. And the healing power of God has the power to change and transform our minds and make us a new creature. Everybody feeling good today? Yes, sir. Don't lie now. Some of y'all are like, I'm not feeling good at all. Well, we pray that Allah will bless us with a better attitude and spirit towards the problems that are occurring in our lives, because oftentimes the problems are either by God's active will or permissive will. Either he permitted it to happen or he actively caused it to happen. Either way, it serves the greater good if we come out on top. And if we enter it with the proper attitude, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is a reflection and an example of a man who goes through trials with the right attitude. Is that right? Right. And this whole book, excuse me, my notes, Closing the Gap, is an outline, as Minister Ishmael said, no prophet or messenger before us has ever given us a detailed account of all of the trials that they have gone through and what they have learned, and put it in a book form for the people to have something to reference and something to learn from.
That's right, that's right, that's right.
The most detailed prophet would be Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, of what he said and what he did. But for black people, we had never had anything like that. So when you have a book like this book is really, the book should really be laid, and the words should be laid or scribed onto golden pages. Because that is really the value of the words coming from the mouth of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, which really is a transmission from God himself. I wish somebody was listening this morning. We all need a little healing. And so mosque and church was set up a little bit after 6,000 years ago. Before that, there was no mosque and there was no church. What? What do you mean? There was no physical structure called mosque and church or temple. Because the life that the people lived, the original people, black man and black woman, it was in accord with the principles of righteousness. But when a rebel came on the planet, when an arch deceiver came on the planet, when one who would rebel against God for a certain period of time came on the planet, then we had to set up a house of repair where God's healing can take place. Y'all listening? So mosque is set up now in the wilderness of North America and all over the planet Earth. Church is set up so that we can come in to get repair.
That's right, that's right.
Because we are broken people. We have been stepped on, stomped on, tossed out the window, and we have been shattered into different pieces, and we are fractions now. And since God does not love or like fractions, he is now trying to bring us back into one whole unit, one whole body, under Christ, under the one God. Are y'all listening? So this Mosque Mariam, is really a clinic. In just a few minutes, the nurses and the doctor's assistants will come and put a spiritual IV into your arm. I know some of y'all want a bean pie IV, but wait till after the spiritual IV, all right? But that spiritual IV, you know how sometimes in a hospital when the doctors let you walk around to get some exercise, but you still have the IV on little rollers and you walk around with your little IV, right? This is how we have to leave the mosque. And the IV is message to the black man, the Holy Quran, the understanding of the Bible, closing the gap. Our Savior has arrived. All of the books are spiritual IV, but we're not walking around with it, and we wonder why we get so sick before next Sunday, because we are not constantly feeding on the Word of God. We have to be connected to that wisdom 24/7. Even in your sleep, your thoughts should be on Almighty God, Allah, His Word, His Messenger, and His Christ. Is that right? Yes, sir. All night long, those thoughts should be running the problem book, the supreme wisdom. That should be the frequency that we are thinking on. And in order for us to get to the hereafter, in order for us to hear and to connect with God, we have to be on that frequency, not on the frequency of the devil and of Satan's world. Our frequency has to rise, so God gives us a man and raises up a man to teach us a different frequency and a different way of thinking. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. So Mosque Mariam is a classroom of God where we come to learn. And we really have to get back into the mindset. We say from our mouth that we are students of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Is that right? But students come to class prepared. And what does that look like? We should be constantly taking notes. We never stop doing that. Because when we first came in, we came in with our notepads. Is that right? Y'all ain't mad at me, are you? Because we wanted to go home and figure out if what they were saying was the truth. And when you got home and started cracking open the dictionary, cracking open the encyclopedia, doing your search on the internet, you began to get firmer and firmer into the truth of God. Because you and I were studying intensely. And then somewhere along, a gap occurred. Everybody all right? But brothers and sisters, we encourage you to continue studying. Get back to that spirit of when we first came in. And that excitement and that humbleness that a child has, and that curiosity. I want to find out, what does this mean? We got to start digging deeper into the wisdom. We can never walk away from this and say, man, I've been here for 30 years. I know this already. You done left the course. I'm going to say that again. If you ever call up in your mind that, oh man, I done read that already. Shoot, Message the Black Man, I read that from front to cover. But you the same person you was yesterday, then you didn't understand what you read. Everybody all right? We welcome you again to Mas Mariam. This is class time. And we have a wonderful program lined up for you. If you are looking for teaching, if you are looking for deeper understanding of the wisdom of God, you are in the right place here at Mas Mariam. We want to thank you for submitting to the check procedure as well as the seating arrangement, because it's designed for us to focus in without distraction or worry about what my brother may have in his pocket or my sister may have in her purse. We can now use all of that energy to now listen and tune in to the word of God coming from whomever bounced the rostrum. Is that right? And we want to introduce to some and present to many our number one program, which you got to pick up. As a matter of fact, I want to read an excerpt from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's article, God's Healing Power. But look at the caption, look at the headline. You don't never see a headline like this on the sometimes, S-O-M-E, times. Sometimes tell the truth, sometimes don't. And all the time mix the truth. You never see a headline like this on the Defenders or the USA Today. Because this paper not only has a commercial appeal, but the deeper part of it is that it has a spiritual component. So you can't just put this next to the Sun-Times and Jewels or Osco or Walgreens, because there's no comparison. This has to be in the hand of a person who's in love with the message, so that the message can be transferred to a brother or sister in need. Is that right? But look at the title, Choose Life Over Death. How many of us choose life? Raise your hand. All right, put your hand down. Most of us choose life, if not all of us. Now the next question that you got to go research is, what is life? What is life? Oh, life is just breathing. Hold up now. Life is not just breathing. That's a characteristic of you and I as a human being or an organism or a mammal, that we need to breathe because we have lungs and we have to take in oxygen, which supplies our body. The oxygen connects with the blood and is circulated throughout our body so that we can continue to thrive and live. But what is life? The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that life is likened unto love. They're synonymous. Because where there is love, there is life. But where there is no love, there's what? I'll say it again now. Where there's no love, there's what? Look at our community. Look at our lifestyles. They are not lifestyles, but they are death styles. You cannot say I love myself, but you won't put down the reefer. Oh man, it just makes me spiritually inclined to connect with God, see? But you're killing yourself. That's not connection with God. God wants to give you life abundantly. So smoking can't be connecting with God. Doing drugs can't connect you with God. All types of behavior that is opposite of what God would have, there's no life present in that. And this is why, brothers and sisters, we are dying at now 20 years old, 30 years old, 40. And the body, according to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, is designed to live up to 1,000 years old. Which brings me to the article that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, or his speech that's in the article. Listen to this. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says this: the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has taught us that Allah God always intended long life for the righteous. That's right. Say it again. For the righteous. I'm going to do the remix. For the righteous. In the Bible, the book of Genesis tells of the old patriarch. Do you know what a patriarch is? Comes from padre. That's right. But patriarch, that Greek or Latin root, pater or pate, is father. That means those who came way before you and I. That's right. But he says the book of Genesis tells of the old patriarch or the old fathers, our ancestors, who lived 400, 500, 900, nearly 1,000 years old. Go look at your Bible in Genesis. How long did Noah live? How long did Methuselah live? How long did all of those patriarchs live? Then the minister says to live nearly 1,000 years is not a fantasy. Because some of y'all in your mind, see how he's answering the thoughts of the people as they come up in the mind? Because as he's speaking, he already knows and has been blessed by God to know that our people will automatically dismiss it as, oh, that's just fantasy. People can't live 1,000 years. Let me ask you a question. How is it that a turtle at the zoo can live to be 400 years, but we die at 30 and 40 and 50? Think about that. And the scripture says that we are the glory of God, not the turtle. How is it that the trees, the sequoias, all of those great trees down in California in those national parks, thousands of years old, and we dying from high blood pressure, hypertension, stress, eating too much pork? It's because we are not living the life. And it's really simple. We make it so difficult. We make it so difficult to live this life. It is because we are borrowing from the wisdom of an arch deceiver. Every diet that he puts out, we want to jump on that diet and neglect God's diet.
Right.
And we always end up disappointed because the devil makes a promise he does not intend to keep. You will lose weight if you just take this pill. And you got How to Eat to Live, and you going to do Atkins diet? Where's Atkins? He's dead. I'm going to go do Jenny Craig. Where's she at? Somewhere with a lot of money and you paying her. Well, if you eat, the news now say, if you eat smaller portions. See, now they mix truth with falsehood. See what I'm saying? If you eat smaller portions, but you have to eat 5 of them. Hold up. Now, you know, stressed out black folks, you get a little plate and you put some, you're not satisfied with that. And then we don't understand that snacking is a meal too. See, I'm going to eat 1 meal a day, but I'm going to snack 5 times a day. That's 6 meals. Y'all, oh man, let me go. Yeah, they mad at me. Hey, Brother Jason, man, you all up. I'm talking to me too. I ain't tripping. I'm talking to Brother Jason right now. Brother Jason, you can't snack no more, brother. All of us, we think that if we just eat a little, we fill up on juice or water. We have to understand, once that muscle called stomach starts working, it's considered a meal. So we have to be careful, and we really don't have to be that careful. All we got to do is follow what God gave us. Everybody okay? Let me finish this quote, and we're going to bring up our brother to really take us further into the program. To live nearly 1,000 years is not a fantasy. The old patriarchs knew, listen to this, the old patriarchs knew, didn't guess, they knew the law of life. Listen to that. They knew the law of life, and they kept themselves in harmony with that law. It's that simple. Now, the thing that we have to come into and understand, what is the law of life? See, wrapped up in the law of life is real simple. When we exceed the limits, we break the law of life. If God says the body is designed to eat 1 meal a day or once every 24 hours, when we exceed that, we break the law of life. And if we continue to exceed that, then what happens? A counter effect happens and we enter into the law of death. If you exceed the speed limit and you get caught, you get a what? A ticket. Is that right? We have to be conscious of exceeding laws. We have to understand the law of life, and wrapped up in the law of life, there has to be love.
That's right.
Are y'all listening? Yes, there has to be an intense love for self first, and then also for others. Because you can only love a person up to the level that you love yourself. So sisters, when the brothers say, as the minister said, baby, I love you more than I'm going to love myself, you are looking at a liar. I love you more than I love myself. I'll do more for you than I'll do for myself. Oh, hold up, brother. I don't need that type of brother. I got God who loves me more than I love myself. But you, brother and sister, we have to love ourselves. And once that love begins to grow in ourselves, see, Jesus is the embodiment of love. See, that law in Moses' time was in place because there was an absence of love. So that law kept our behaviors and attitudes in check. But at a certain time, we have to get to the point where there's so much love present in each and every human being. Everybody all right? So brothers and sisters, I'm not going to take any longer. We're going to move further into our program. There's so much in this article. Please read it. There's so much in this article that I would love to share of what the minister said, but we all have eyes that we should be able to go and get this newspaper and begin to read, because we definitely have to continue to grow. Don't stay the same, black man and woman. I'm going to say that again. Don't stay the same. We have to continue to evolve. Don't get in our minds that we just made it yet. We're still growing. What is the course? The course is to become one with God. And we are still striving to do that, but that's why God demands obedience from us. It's out of love, because he wants you to be just like him. Everybody all right? Keep striving, black man and woman. Don't you give up hope now. We're right at the door. We're right at the cusp of something new. Something, I mean, how many of y'all excited about seeing this world crash and burn, man? I'm like, oh, I just want it to fall down. But before it can fall down, there are a group of people that must be resurrected and brought up. But who would do that? Who would bring up, and who cares enough for the black man and woman to give us the knowledge that the white man robbed from us? Well, with that message and with that word, we're going to move further into our program. Without further ado, please to bring to the rostrum, and thanking you on behalf of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and his assistants, and I thank them for allowing me to share these introductory words. Please welcome to the rostrum your brother and my brother, Student Minister Abdul Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. I would like to greet you all with the greeting words of peace. We say it in the Arabic language of Assalamu alaikum. How y'all feel this morning? All praise is due to Allah. Brothers and sisters, I would like to begin by thanking the Honorable Louis Farrakhan for teaching me what I hope to share with you this morning. And I would also like to thank Minister Ishmael, the representative of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, for extending the invitation and giving me the opportunity to come before you all this morning at Mas Mariam. I would like to thank Minister Jason, all of the ministers, for all of their assistance. Brothers and sisters, we're going to get right down to it. Today, we want to deal with a very important topic or question, and the question that we're going to ask today is, who will raise the dead? And I say that, and I want everyone to know that for black people in America and really the world, the most valuable thing that you can have in your life is not a new Bentley. I'm sorry. I mean, a Bentley is nice, right? With DVD players on the inside, makes it even, you know what I'm saying? If it's a drop top, it's even better, right? But that's not the greatest thing that you can have in your life. The greatest thing that you can have in your life is not the winning lottery ticket. That's not the greatest thing that you can have in your life, because if you had that in your life, then all that would do is bring more stress to your life. All you have to do is look at the lives of the people that win the lottery. And the people that win the $1 million, $5 million, $10 million lottery, they end up broke or they die at an early age because of the stress of having all that money, right, and not knowing what to do with it. And you know the old saying goes, a fool and his money are soon parted. So what is the greatest thing that you can have in your life as a black man or a black woman? It's the knowledge of self and the knowledge of God. Is that right? Because there's nothing in the universe greater than God, but where are you going to get that in a world like this? You have to get it from the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Are y'all with me? So now, I'm going to bring my brother Malcolm X to the witness stand. Because a lot of us love Malcolm. We honor Malcolm, right? We say, well, Malcolm X, that's my man. but we never look at what made him the great and powerful man that he was, right? And the thing that made him who and what he was is the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, according to his own words. Because before Malcolm X heard the teachings of the honorable Elijah Muhammad, where was he? He was in the street, right? Like most of us were where? In the street. He ended up in jail, right? And he was so bad in prison that the prisoners gave him the nickname of Satan. Well, you got to be a bad man. I mean, I'm talking about murderers. You killed 50 people, but you're going to call me Satan, right? You a pedophile. You rape little children, right? And you're going to call me Satan, right? You a bank robber. You killed 3 people in a bank robbery. I come to jail, and you call me Satan. Y'all understand what I'm saying? So he had to be a bad man. He was bad before he went to jail, but he got worse when he got in jail. So I'm going to read to you from page 152. Now, pardon me, page 153 of the autobiography of Malcolm X. He says, I had sunk to the very bottom of the American white man's society. Soon now in prison, I found Allah and the religion of Islam, and it completely transformed my life. I'm talking about Malcolm X, the man we know and love. But now, if it could transform his life, then what could this same message do for you and I? You understand what I'm saying? See, the reason you watch these commercials and they have this stain remover, they put this terrible stain in the carpet, right? And then they show you on television the cleaner getting the stain out of the carpet because they know that seeing is believing. Well, you saw this man come from prison to being a world leader. And he says that Islam is what did it. If it did it for him, it could do it for you. I'm going to bring another example. Y'all heard of Alex Haley before? Alex Haley is the one that wrote the book, The Autobiography of Malcolm X. But guess what? That book was not his greatest success. When he was interviewing the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm X, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad told Alex Haley that black people who were brought to America were Muslims before they were brought to America. And Alex Haley didn't believe him, like most of you in this room. You hear us teaching like, oh man, I don't believe that, right? But Alex Haley went and researched his own family and found out what? That Kunta Kinte, his ancestor, was in fact a Muslim. And based on just one small aspect of the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, this man wrote a book called Roots, right? And that book became his greatest success. And that book was turned into a television movie, and it's ranked in the top 10 of the greatest television movies of all time. Y'all got that? But all he got was a fraction of the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and that fraction made him a great man. So my question is, what can these same teachings do for you and I if we accept them? Are y'all with me? So now we want to talk about who will raise the dead, right? Now I know that everybody's been mentioning this comedian Michael Richards and the comments that he made in the Laugh Factory, right? About black people who had interrupted his routine. And, you know, you hear him refer to these people, our people, as niggers like 7 or 8 times, right? And I'm going to deal with the other part of his comment later. But we want to talk about this word nigger. Are y'all with me? Which is like the favorite word of the black community. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the chalkboard. I hope you brought your pens and pads. I don't know. And you may say, well, what does this have to do, thank you, with raising the dead? Or who will raise the dead? Well, we're clear that it's us that need to be raised. Is that right? Now, let's answer the question. Can y'all see that? The word nigger, which is our favorite word, if we had $1 for every time black people use the word nigger, all of us in this room will be richer than Bill Gates, right? All of us in the room will be richer than who? Bill Gates. So now, I'm going to put both spellings on the board. Y'all got that? Because some people would tell you, well, see, yeah, this is what white people called us, right? But see, what we use, no, you see what I'm saying? A nigga, see, Tupac say, it's never ignorant, getting goals accomplished. See what I'm saying? That's what we would say, right? And Tupac did say that, but we want to know, what does the word mean? Because see, everything is given a title based on its what? Based on its function. Are y'all with me? So you sit in a chair because the function of a chair, or we call it a chair because of what it does, right? We call a car because of what it does, right? We call the pen a pen because of what it does. Now you can take the thing that has a name and you can use it for a different purpose, right? I mean, you can use a chair as a weapon and bust somebody in the head with it, right? You've seen enough WWF to know that, right? But is that the purpose and the function and the reason that you call it a chair? That's not the purpose or the function or the reason that you refer to it as a chair, just because you can bust somebody in the head with it. So the question is, just because you use it in a different way, does that mean that it has a different meaning? That it has a different function? Well, we know that this word nigga or nigga comes from the word Negro, right? When you were in public school, right, they told you that the word Negro means what? They said it means what? They told you that it means black. But guess what? That's just half the truth. And you know, a half-truth is a what? A half-truth is a lie. That's what you've been telling your parents all your life. A bunch of half-truths, right? They smack you upside the head and say, stop lying, right? So now, you may have a little boyfriend, Ray, Tyrone, Clarence, somebody, and your mama say, girl, I don't want you going back over Clarence's house no more. He ain't no good. So then you over there the next day. You come home, your mama asks you, girl, where you been? You better not been at Clarence's house. You're like, no, mama, no, I was at Kiki's house. But you never tell your mother that Kiki is Clarence's sister, right? So that's a half-truth, right? And a half-truth is a what? A half-truth is a lie. All praise is due to Allah. So what we've been given from the enemy is a lot of half-truths. And they leave out the part that's critical so that they can deceive us with the half-truth. Are y'all listening? So the white man says, well, Negro comes from the Spanish word negro, which means black in Spanish. You go to the dictionary and you see, oh yeah, negro, yeah, it means black in Spanish. We Negroes. But that's a half-truth. The word negro in Spanish, right, it comes from the Spanish. Y'all got that? And it does mean black, but it only refers to something that is dead. So it means black, but it's only used to refer to inanimate objects. Black car, black shoes, black shirt, black pants. Y'all understand what I'm saying? It is not used to refer to things that are black and alive. Y'all with me? It's only used to refer to things that are black but have no life. Y'all got me? So now the word that is used to refer to a black person in Spanish is moreno, not negro. So you have to ask the question, why is it that when we were brought in slavery, why did the enemy use the word Negro to describe black people? Are y'all with me? We know that Spanish comes from what language? Latin, right? And Latin comes from what? Greek. Are y'all with me? So you find this same word in the Latin is N-E-K-R-O, and in Latin it means dead. You find it in Greek, it's N-E-C-R-O, which also means what? Dead. Now there's a law in English, are y'all listening? There's a law in English called Grimm's Law of Consonants. I hope I spelled that right. I hope I did. And in Grimm's Law it says the G, the K, and the C are all interchangeable without changing the meaning of the word. Did y'all hear that? According to Grimm's Law of Consonants, the G, the K, and the C are all interchangeable, and it doesn't change the meaning of the word. That's why you can spell America with a C, or you can spell America with 3 Ks, and it's still America. Do you understand what I'm saying? So now, if Negro or negro means dead in Spanish, it means dead in Latin, it means dead in Greek, the question is, why did the enemy use this word to refer to black people? Now, if you get a dictionary, The dictionary will tell you that the word Negro came into existence in English in the year 1555, which is the same year that the first boatload of black people were brought to America by a slave trader by the name of Sir John Hawkins, all praise is due to Allah, on a ship named Jesus. Well, why did he name the ship Jesus? Because black people have always loved Jesus. I know you say, well, y'all Muslims, y'all don't believe in Jesus. Yes, we do. We're in a building called Mosque Mariam, and Mary is the mother of Jesus, so that everyone will know that as Muslims, we believe in Jesus. But why did the white man name the slave ship after Jesus? So you wouldn't have no problem getting on the ship. You understand what I'm saying? Why does the white man get a black man by the name of Michael Jordan and put his name on a tennis shoe? A shoe that costs him $5 to make, and then he turns around and sells it to you for $120, right? Because he knows you like him. And since you like him, you'll spend all that you have to get the shoe that's made by him or that has his name on it. You understand what I'm saying? He uses his name to deceive you into buying a shoe that is worthless. Well, he did the same thing. He put the name on a ship to get us on the ship, to get us over here. You understand? When Jesus never endorsed what the white man was doing. Are y'all with me? Can we move on? Now, so our question is, are black people dead? Y'all gonna say yes because y'all here in the mosque. You ask the average brother on the street, black people dead? And he said, Pookie died last week, drive-by. But everybody else, we straight. You see what I'm saying? We straight, right? So now, what we have to understand is that there's more than one meaning of the word dead. Y'all with me? If you don't pay your phone bill, you pick up the phone and you hear that little clicking sound, but no dial tone, right? You hear click, click, click. It's like the dial tone is about to come, but it never comes. And you say the phone is what? The phone is dead, right? If you go to a Jay-Z concert, or, y'all probably like, what's my man's name? Young Jock. And he's on stage, right? Meet me in the trap. It's going down, right? And you see the people in the crowd. He's doing a motorcycle dance with 50 people on stage, and the crowd is looking at him like this. You would say that the concert is what? Dead, right? If you go to a party on the low end, and the music is blasting, and it's a bunch of brothers standing on this wall over here, a bunch of fine black sisters on this wall over here, and nobody's dancing, you say the party is what? You say the party is dead, right? So dead has more than one meaning. Are y'all with me? We're not just talking about those who got shot in the drive-by, right? So the question is, are black people the ones that are dead? And if we are, who's going to come and raise the dead? Are y'all with me? Let's look at it. Well, the first category we'll look at is economically. Are black people economically dead? Yeah. Wait a minute. Don't even say yes. I turn on the television, I'm watching Cribs, right? And they're in, what's my man's name? Red Man's house, right? Or they're in, who's some other people? What's the brother with the stripper pole in his house? Big Boy's house, right? And these people got 5 and 6 cars in the driveway, right? Pool out back. So how can you say that black people are economically dead? Right? You see 50, he's iced out everywhere. You see people spending $20,000 on a grill with diamonds in it. How can you say black people are economically dead? It's because, look around, we don't own the businesses where we live. Every group in this country, wherever they live, they own the businesses, right or wrong. Well, we're in the most segregated city in the United States. Let's see. If you go to Chinatown, who owns the businesses in Chinatown? Chinese people do, right? You look at the signs, you can't even read them because they're in Chinese, right or wrong. So now, do you think you as a black man could go into Chinatown and open up a Chinese food restaurant and the Chinese people buy from you? But what if they went into a Chinese food restaurant and the food wasn't good? Do you think they would buy from you then? They still wouldn't buy from you, right? So now, you go to where the Arabs live out by Ford City. Who owns the businesses where the Arabs live? Oh, you call them Arabs. Who owns the business where the Arabs live? They do, is that right? You can't go into the Arab neighborhood, opening a business in their community, selling their children pig feet. They will run you out of their neighborhood, right or wrong. If you go to Schaumburg where the Jews live, Who owns the businesses? They do, right? If you go on commercial, where the Hispanics live, who owns the businesses? The Hispanics, right? Signs are in Spanish. You can't even read the signs, right? All you know is give me a taco. That's all you know, right? You go to Little Italy. Who owns the businesses? Italians do, is that right? You go to Greektown, and y'all go to Greektown because you like to eat in those restaurants, right? You look at the sign, it's in Greek. You don't know what it says. All you know is it's Greek food, it tastes good, right? So every ethnic group owns the businesses where they live, except who? Except black people. You got Arabs, you got Koreans, you got white, you got Jews, you got Hispanics, you got everybody but us. And some of you sisters will go to the nail shop, to the Koreans. You wouldn't even go to a black nail tech. Right or wrong? You go to the Koreans, do you think they would come to you? And you go, I know you say, well, I did go to a black nail tech. I started there, but see, black people glue don't stick right. The glue ain't the same. They do a filler and it look all crazy, right? So you left the black nail tech and went to the Koreans and you sat down in front of them. She has a mask on, you have nothing. She's smiling at you. You think she likes you, but she's smiling because you've given her the money. That's the only reason. Go in there and say, let me get one on credit. And see him come from the back and throw you out. So now, us being economically dead is because we don't own the businesses where we live. And then when we open up a business, do we support that business? No, we don't. Is that right? That's because we're dead economically. See, when something is dead, it doesn't function the way that it's supposed to function. When the phone is dead, it's not functioning right, right? When the concert is dead and you got Young Jock on the stage or whoever you like, right? And people aren't dancing or moving, then you say it's dead, is that right? So it's not functioning right. So economically, we would have to say yes, is that right? What about politically? Now I know you say, well, black people vote. We sure do vote. Every election, right? Yeah, we do vote. But what do we have for our vote? We have nothing to show for our participation in the political process, right? So now, and part of the reason is because we don't have any economics in our community. See, politics, as the Honorable Louis Farrakhan said, politics without economics is symbol without substance. What the politicians are doing are making laws to facilitate business in whatever community that they live in. That's what politicians do, right? So if we don't have any business, then the politician can't benefit us. You understand what I'm saying? And our politicians, many of them, when they get in office, do they serve our interests or do they serve white people's interests? Most of them serve white people's interests. You understand what I'm saying? So if we look politically dead. What about socially? How does society look at black people? They look up to black people or they look down on black people? I'm gonna give you a few examples. Did y'all hear about the brother that got shot in New York on his wedding day, right? He's leaving the bachelor party. 3 brothers get in the car. Plainclothes police officer runs up. I guess the brothers thought they were getting jacked and try to drive away. 5 police officers come, unload 50 bullets in the car. 1 police officer reloaded and emptied his clip again. So now, and police brutality mostly happens to who? Black people. You heard of driving while black, right? Now, one white senator said he couldn't imagine getting pulled over because he was white. Even if you've never been pulled over because you were black, you could at least imagine that happening to you, right? Even if it's never happened, you can imagine. That's why black people are scared to pass the police. You see the police driving? He could be driving 5 miles an hour in a 35 zone, and no black person will pass the police except me. And I did do this. All praise is due to Allah. Now, I was on my way to work, and the police officer driving ridiculously slow. And I said, look, I'm not like all these other black people. I'm not scared to pass a police officer. So I passed him, and he pulled me over and gave me 2 bogus tickets. And I went to court, and I won the case, but I had to take a day off work to go to court. I don't know if y'all heard the song that Jay-Z did, Jigga Muhammad Not Guilty. Did y'all hear that? They remixed the song after I won the case. Okay, maybe y'all didn't hear. I don't know. All praise is due to Allah. Now, so we have the example of the brother in New York when Hurricane Katrina came. Why do you think it took the government so long to bring aid to black people? It's because of the way the society looks down on black people. In this society, black people are not valued, right? So when the news came out and these people were in a hurricane and they were going to find food so they could live, right? Which is only natural. And these stores have insurance, right or wrong. So what they were losing was already paid for, right? So now they put it on the news, and I have the article right here in my hand, because black people don't believe you. Unless you can bring a white man that says the same thing you're saying. Then they'll believe you. So now, here's the article from Salon.com, which is not black, it's white, okay? I'm just using it because I have to bring them so you will believe what I'm saying. Y'all got that? So now, Salon.com, they show how when they reported the black people going in the stores getting food to live, they called them looters, right? And when they reported the white people going in stores to get food to live, they called them finders. I'm gonna read it for you. A young man walks through chest-deep flood water after looting a grocery store in New Orleans on Tuesday, August 30th, 2005. Young black man. Now it's two white people. Two residents wade through chest-deep water after finding bread and soda from a local grocery store. So now, why would they use a different language? All praise is due to Allah. It's because the way they view us in this society. Are y'all with me? I had an now. And we don't do anything to help the situation as black people. Y'all heard of Flavor Flav, right? He has a show called The Flavor of Love, right? And some of y'all love the show. I know. And I know some of y'all say, man, delicious, I don't care what you say, but delicious fine as hell, brother, you know what I'm saying? Right? That's what you say. Now, see, what the enemy has always wanted, so he could justify his view of us, he's always found one of us that justified his view of us. You understand what I'm saying? So now, I'm going to give you a man by the name of Bert Williams. Y'all remember when white people used to put on blackface, and they used to act like black people, right? So now, and they made a lot of, see, this is before movies were out. So the entertainment at that time, I'm trying to find the name. Minstrels, right. So you would come to these shows and there would be a white actor with shoe polish on his face, right? And he would be acting black, right? So now, and these people made millions of dollars. So a black man by the name of Bert Williams, he became a minstrel actor, right? And the white man paid him, and this is in like 1915. The white man paid him $6,500 a week to get on stage and make black people look bad. Now, this is in 1915. $6,500 a week in 1915. That's like when a loaf of bread was a nickel, right? You could buy a whole bag of groceries for $3, right? This man is getting paid $6,500 a week. Y'all don't get $6,500 a week right now. And it's 2006. This is 1915. But he would pay him that because to justify his view of black people. Now, Bert Williams said in an interview that he couldn't even go to the local tavern and get a drink because blacks were not allowed. So what does that mean? See, the enemy used his portrayal, I'm talking about Bert Williams' portrayal of black people, to justify how he treated all the other black people, including Bert Williams. You understand what I'm saying? So see, you always hear these entertainers and athletes and rappers say, see, I got to get my money, you know what I'm saying? This is my new hustle. You know what I'm saying? I would be on the street slinging drugs in jail, right? But they use their portrayal of black people, I'm talking about in the modern time, to justify their treatment of all of us. You understand what I'm saying? So now, today, in today's money, $6,500 a week from 1950, in today's money, that's like $3.5 million a year, which is about what they're paying these people today, right? Some more, some less. So now, black people are economically, politically, socially dead, right? What about spiritually? What about spiritually? And you know we be in church, singing, doing backflips, right? Running up and down the aisle, catching the Holy Ghost, right? And I know when I was in church they did that. And some of y'all went to church and got scared and came to the mosque, right? Somebody caught the Holy Ghost right next to you, you were scared, right? Slob coming all out their mouth. Sister came, girl, whoo, she caught it today. They take her to the back, she all laid out, right? So now, how can we say that black people are spiritually dead when it seems as though we're the ones with the most spirit? But now, see, the spirit represents the spirit of God, right? So now, how can you be in church or in the mosque or in the synagogue and you see your brother and you talking about him behind his back, but you spiritually alive, right? Or you talking about a sister, girl, look at what she got on. She look crazy, right? But you're supposed to be spiritually alive. See, if we were spiritually alive, it would reflect in the way that we treated one another. But do we treat one another as though we're spiritually alive? Yes or no? No, we don't. You go in the hood, you see a brother with a platinum chain on, with a big white Jesus on the end, right? He's in the car with his boys, and let's roll on that food. Let's roll on that food. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? They roll up real slow. He's out the window with the gun. Plow, 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 plow. And it's a 5-year-old on the porch getting shot, right? All he was doing was drinking Kool-Aid. They go back to the house, man, you said we shot that fool, he dropped this Kool-Aid, man. Then he picks up the Jesus chain, Jesus bless me to kill that fool. So now, how can you be spiritually alive? Jesus is not with that. You turn on the television, we're at the awards show, right? Butt naked on TV with a sticker over our nipple, and the first thing that comes out of our mouth, oh, I want to thank God. You're naked on television, and you want to thank God. It's, you know, you can't be both, I'm sorry. What about morally? Are we morally dead? I mean, who do we honor in the black community? You honor somebody that's been teaching in the schools for 30 years? No. You'll rob her, right? But if the bishop, y'all know who the bishop is, right? Don Juan. If Bishop rolls up in the hood, he gets nothing but love, right? The man's a pimp. But the teacher gets no love, but the pimp gets what? Gets love. You see a nun feeding the poor, you knock in the head, bam! What you doing feeding the hungry? What's wrong with you, right? But the stripper walks out the club, oh, what's up, what's up, what's up? How can a brother be down, right? So the stripper gets love, but the nun or the virtuous sister, are you a virgin? What the hell is wrong with you? Right? You looking at it like you smell something, right? So now, morally, and I'm going to talk more about this later, but morally black people are dead in all of these categories, right? So now, the question is, who is going to raise the dead? Is that right? Are we clear on who the dead are? We're clear on who the dead are. I may come back to the chalkboard. But let's move on. Now, see, the reason that we are the dead is because it's not by design. See, God doesn't make Negroes. God didn't make us Negroes. We were made Negroes when we were brought over here. There's a process to making a Negro. Are y'all with me? Now, let me write this down real quick. We're taught that the first boatload of black people were brought here in 1555, right? But the enemy says, well, no, the first group of black people were brought in here in 1619, not 1555, right? With John Hawkins, right? And the reason he says that is because there are 64 years of history that is not in the history books. Because it took 64 years to make a Negro. Y'all remember that show, the $64,000 question? The question is, how long does it take to make a Negro? It takes 64 years. How did they make a Negro? How did they take us from being the great men and women in Africa that we were, that civilized Europe, and make us into what we are now? How did they make us into baby mamas? How did they make that? How did they make us into men that would have 5 children by 5 different women and won't get a job? How did he do that, right? There's a process into making a Negro. Are y'all with me? So now, one thing that the enemy did is they put fear in us. Fear of them. Are y'all with me? So now, one thing Michael Richards said when he made his comment is that if this was 50 years ago, we would have you hanging upside down, right? With the fork stuck up your backside, right? So now, what is he talking about? He's talking about black people being lynched in America. Are y'all with me? Now I gotta stay with the time. I usually always over-prepare. Okay, we're making good time. Praise be to Allah. He's talking about black people being lynched in America, right? And I want to read to you something from a book called Without Sanctuary, which is a book that chronicles the lynching of black people in America. Are y'all with me? I'm gonna read to you this real quick. It says, the brutalities meted out in these years often exceed the most vivid imaginations. After learning of the lynching of her husband, Mary Turner, in her 8th month of pregnancy, vowed to find those responsible, swear out warrants against them, and have them punished in the courts. For making such a threat, a mob of several hundred men and women determined to teach her a lesson. After tying her ankles together, they hung her from a tree, head downward, just like Michael Richards said, right? Hung her from a tree, head downward, dousing her clothes with gasoline. They burned them from her body. While she was still alive, someone used a knife, ordinarily reserved for splitting hogs, to cut open the woman's abdomen. The infant fell from her womb to the ground and cried briefly, whereupon a member of this Valdosta, Georgia mob crushed the baby's head beneath his heel. Hundreds of bullets were then fired into Mary Turner's body, completing the work of the mob. Y'all got that? So now, this is what black people experienced. See, this is why a black comedian and a white comedian aren't on a level playing field. Because, see, we don't have a history of doing to white people what they've done to us. You understand what I'm saying? So we may make a joke about a white person out of our pain and suffering to help alleviate our pain and suffering. You understand what I'm saying? So the black comedian and the white comedian is not the same. Now that's what happened to us back in the day. But what's happening to us right now? Are we still getting lynched? Are we the ones doing it to each other right now? Right? A brother from another gang, if he sees a vice lord and he's a GD, then 20 of them will stomp the brother in the middle of the street, right? And the other black people will gather around just like the whites used to gather around, and will cheer the mob that's beating up their own brother. Y'all understand what I'm saying? So now, one of the ways they made us into Negroes was by putting fear in us. Are y'all with me? Another thing they did was they withheld knowledge from us, because it's only knowledge that could civilize us and elevate us. Are y'all with me? So now I know you think, well, see, why would they do that? I don't believe that. Well, I want you to get a book. The name of that book is Message to the Black Man.
Go ahead.
If you don't have this book, you need to get this book, all right? Now, if I told you to go get Superhead's book, The Video Vixen, right? All of y'all will run out today and go get that book. Is that right? If I told you to go get The Coldest Winter Ever, or a Zane book, or Hip Hop Honeys, or whatever, right? You will run out to Borders and have that book, and you, girl, you see what they saying, calling up your friends. But what I'm saying is that you need to get a book that has knowledge that's going to lift you up, not something that's going to take us further down in the filth. Are y'all with me? On page 185 of Message to the Black Man, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, quoting a man by the name of Henry Berry, y'all got that? Henry Berry. He says in the Virginia House of Delegates in 1832, he was describing a situation that existed in parts of the South. Henry Berry said on 186, we have as far as possible closed every avenue which light may enter the slave's mind. If we could extinguish the capacity to see the light, our work would be complete. Then they would be on the level with the beast of the field, and we would be safe. I am not certain that we would not do it if we could find out the process, and that on the plea of necessity. So this man is saying that their goal is to not let any knowledge come to who? Any knowledge come to black people. Because when we get knowledge, we can no longer be Negroes. If you read the plan of Willie Lynch, he says that this plan will last 300 years, right? Or it may just last forever. Then later on in the document, he says the only way that this plan could be reversed is if there was some great phenomenon that would come to the Negro to reverse what we've done, right? I want you to keep that in mind. The only way that this plan could be reversed is if something phenomenal happened that could reverse the plan. Are y'all with me? Y'all familiar with Willie Lynch, right? Now, I want to quote to you from a letter that Andrew Johnson wrote. I'm talking about the replacement for Abraham Lincoln. Are y'all listening? See, because what we have to understand is the same mind that was in the founders of America, the forefathers, right? The same mind is in the current president and in every president of the United States. In fact, he wouldn't be president if he did not have the same mind to further the same agenda as the forefathers of the United States. Are y'all listening? Let me give you an example you may be able to relate to. Now, y'all heard of Ford Motor Company, right? Started by Henry Ford, right? Is Henry Ford still here? But Ford Motor Company is still doing what? They're still making cars, right? The cars of today are different than the cars of yesterday, right or wrong. But it's still a car and it's still produced by Ford Motor Company because the mind of the originator, Henry Ford, is the same as the mind of the present CEO of Ford Motor Company. The only thing that has changed is time. Are y'all with me? And the look and make and model of the car, but the mentalities are the same, right? So the same thing goes with the president. George Washington, biggest slave owner in the United States, right? Did y'all know that? That's why he was the richest man in the United States. So now, the same mind of George Washington is the same mind of George W. Bush. Y'all got that? So I'm going to quote to you this letter from Andrew Johnson. He says, everyone would and must admit that the white race is superior to the black race, or to the black. And that while we ought to do our best to bring them up to our present level, that in doing so, we should at the same time raise our own intellectual status so that the relative position of the two races would be the same. I'm going to break that down. If I'm in a car, right, I'm driving 50 miles an hour. You're 3 miles behind me, and you're driving 50 miles an hour. We're both moving, right? Are you ever going to pass me? You're never going to pass me. As long as I'm driving 50 miles an hour and you're driving 50 miles an hour, the relative position of the two cars is still the same, 3 miles, right? So that's all Andrew Johnson was saying. Look, we're going to bring them up, but as we bring them up, we're going to go up so that the position of the two races in America will always be the same. Now, you can travel around America, anywhere you go, and in every city, every village, every town, every state, blacks are on the bottom. Everywhere. You can't find a place in America where black people are running it from top to bottom. You may say, well, you know, you got cities where there's a black mayor. But is he really running it? Or is he just a figurehead? You understand what I'm saying? Everywhere you go, every city, black people are on the bottom, right? So now, why is that? That's because we were made Negroes, and what God wants to do, he wants to raise up a man that will raise the dead. We're not talking about the physically dead. I know that's what you think. We're going to deal with that. What I'm about to say may hurt your feelings, but you'll be okay, all right? I'm going to read to you from the back page of the Final Call newspaper. Then we're going to break it all the way down. Then we're going home. Now, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, we believe in the resurrection of the dead, not in physical resurrection, but in mental resurrection. We believe the so-called Negroes are most in need of mental resurrection, and therefore they will be resurrected first. Are y'all with me? So when we talk about who will raise the dead, we're not talking about somebody coming from the sky, going to the cemetery, waving his hand over the cemetery, and people come up out the ground and they're back alive. Y'all with me? That's not going to happen. As Muslims, we don't believe that people are coming back from death. Once you die, that's it. Your life, I know this is hurting your feelings. It hurt my feelings when I first heard it. Because I was good when I was little because I wanted to go to heaven. That's the only reason I was good. You understand what I'm saying? So when I came in the nation and I heard somebody say, there is no heaven in the sky and there is no hell in the ground, I was mad. I was like, wait a minute, that's what I've been waiting on to get to heaven. Is that right? But it's common sense. Because if you got roaches, don't raise your hand. But if you got roaches, you turn the light on, right? And the roach does what? It stays still for a minute, lays in the cut, then it starts to run. Is that right? Because the roach understands that it only has one life to live, right? Why don't we understand that? Now, you watch the Nature Channel, and you see the antelope, right? And the lion is way across the savannah. And the antelope, it's like 300 antelope. They're walking, right? The lion is sneaking up on the antelope, start to walk a little faster, right? So then the lion or the lioness goes out in a full stride, right? Do the antelope just stay there? No! They all do what? They all run because they understand what? That they only have one life to live. So I don't want you to think that when we talk about raising the dead, we're talking about somebody who died last week, Pookie who got shot in a drive-by, Latasha Nikwa. No. We're talking about the mentally dead, which is us. The reason that they gave us the name Negro or nigger is because of what they did to our minds, which was destroyed our minds. So we're not even useful for ourselves. You understand what I'm saying? So the only way we can become useful is if God raises up a man to give life to the dead. You understand what I'm saying? So the Holy Quran says that Allah brings forth the dead from the living and the living from the dead. Is that right? And you think, some of us, that it's going to be a day where all the dead people come back to life. No, we're the living that have been brought forth from the dead. You understand what I'm saying? Let's see. Y'all ready? Now we know, or we should know, that there is no heaven in the sky. And when you die, you're not going to float up in the sky, right? Just think about it. If you're going to be a spirit, and they have gates in the front of heaven, what do you need gates for? If you're a spirit and you can just go through the wall like Casper the Friendly Ghost. What is the gate for? The pearly gates. What is that for? Why is there streets of gold? For spirits that don't even walk, they just float around. You have wings, right? Little chicken wings, and you fly around, right? With a halo. Now all of that has a meaning, right? So now, but see, the enemy has made a telescope called the Hubble telescope, right? And here we are on Earth. Y'all with me? And the telescope can see past Pluto. Pluto is 4,600,000,000 miles away from the Earth. Y'all got that? So now, from Earth, that's 4,600,000,000. Hold on. You can see Pluto from Earth. In fact, the telescope can see past Pluto. It can see so far into space that the white man says that he can see into the past. Are y'all understanding what I'm saying? So now, if he has a telescope that can see past Pluto, past the sun, past the moon, past the stars, and you never went to the NASA website and saw a picture of heaven. They never had a press conference and said, we finally found it. Heaven. It is out there. Right or wrong? Now I know what you're saying right now. See, that's why I don't like y'all Muslims, man. Because see, y'all don't understand. It's like you warp through this thing, right? And then you be in heaven. You can't see it with a telescope. Come on, that's crazy as hell. You know. Now, see, the reason that the enemy told us that when we died, we would go to heaven, is so that we will work our whole lives in slavery for him, thinking that we would get our reward after we died when he got his reward while he lived. If you believe in heaven, then when you get sick, why do you call the doctor? Why are there hospitals? If you get sick, just die, right? Why are you tripping out when Ray Ray and Pookie and Man Man and Kiki and Lily and Riri get shot? What are you tripping for? They all going to heaven. What are you crying for? You got breast cancer? Don't get it cut off. Just die so you can go to heaven. But nature tells you to stay here as long as you can, because you never had anybody come back and tell you what it was like on the other side. See, you have to understand that we've been lied to so that we can be used as a tool and as a slave. See, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that heaven and hell are conditions of life on earth. I know what we've been taught. We've been taught that hell is in the middle of the ground. Is that right? It's in the center of the earth, and it's 10 times hotter than the sun. Well, simple math, right? If the diameter of the earth is 7,926 miles, right? Right? Then that means radius is half the diameter, which means hell is only 3,963 miles away. Are y'all with me? So now, if the sun is 14,007 degrees Fahrenheit on the surface. Are y'all with me? And it's 93 million miles away from the earth. And it gets up to 100, 110, 120 on earth from a sun 93 million miles away. Are y'all listening? Then you need to tell me, if hell is 140,070 degrees Fahrenheit, why don't we feel the heat from hell on our feet? And it's only 4,000 miles away. Are y'all understanding what I'm saying? It's only 4,000 miles away, and it's snow on the ground outside right now. If you take a frying pan, put it on the stove, turn on the fire, put an ice cube in it, it's going to melt. Right or wrong? Why doesn't the heat from hell melt the snow? Because there is no hell in the ground 4,000 miles away. Heaven and hell are conditions of life on earth. Now in 96, the last Pope, Pope John Paul, came out, had a press conference, and he said, guess what he said? There's no heaven in the sky. I'm talking about the Pope. There's no hell in the ground. He said that heaven and hell are conditions of life on earth. Where did he get it from? It's because the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad have been whooping the hell out of false Christianity. And he had to bear witness that what the most honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches is true. All praise is due to Allah. So now, heaven and hell are conditions of life on earth, right? How do you know? You go outside right now. What you gonna say? Oh, it's cold as hell. Right? If it's hot, you go outside. You be like, damn, it's hot as hell. Right? You broke and ain't got no money. What do you say? I'm broke as hell, right? You see a sister and she's fine. What do you say? Oh, she fine as hell. You see a brother and he's ugly. What do you say? Oh, girl, he ugly as hell. What is that telling you? That heaven and hell are not somewhere else. Heaven and hell are right here on earth. We trying to die and go somewhere, but we need to live. All praise is due to Allah. Now don't get mad, because you need to know that the enemy is lying to you. And he put Jesus' name on it, right? So you would accept it. But Jesus said that the kingdom of heaven is where? Within you. He didn't say it was somewhere in space, right? But that the kingdom of heaven is within. Are y'all with me? I don't want y'all to get mad, but you need to know that you waiting to die, and you need to produce a heaven like the white man has produced for himself. You need to produce a heaven for yourself. Are y'all with me? So now, there's another point I wanted to make. Oh, we got cemeteries all over the world, right? See, there's a law in science called the law of conservation of mass, which says matter is neither created nor destroyed, it only changes forms, right? So now, if everybody that has ever lived, and the earth has been here for billions and trillions of years, billions of people have lived, right? If all of those people came back right now, where would we live? There would be no room for anybody else. And since their bodies are made up from the earth, there would be no earth for us to stand on. You understand what I'm saying? So we can't expect to see somebody that may have died 100 years ago. And why would God punish people in Sodom and Gomorrah just to bring them all back to life? Does that make sense to you? Why did he drown all those people during the time of Noah? Just to bring all those people that he drowned back to life and judge them all over again. Why when you go to Arabia and they chop the murderer's head off, God gonna bring him back to life? No. Are y'all with me? So now, I'm gonna, I don't wanna keep you all too long. We got a little more time. So, here's what I wanna do. I wanna say this last point. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad in this book, where is it? Message to the Black Man. He says, because you have to understand that the condition that black people are in is not by accident, but it's by design. See, when you deal in science, the scientists, they create a condition whenever they do an experiment, right? And based on the condition, it will determine the result of the experiment. So to keep us beneath them, they have to keep our minds in a certain condition. So the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that when they started to open black colleges in the South, and they wanted to appropriate money for these schools, he said that they agreed that they would never teach black people three things. Are y'all listening? There were three sciences that the white senators agreed that they would never allow black people to be taught in black colleges and universities. Are y'all with me? Okay, the first one was the science of business, right? And the science of business, I mean, it's clear that we don't have that because we don't own anything where we live. That's evident, right? When you go to college and you major in business and your white counterpart majors in business and you both graduate, then you go to him or her for a job, who got the real education? They got the real education, right? Because y'all have the same degree, supposedly, but you're working for them rather than them working for you. So we were never taught the true science of how to run a business. Y'all with me? And it does mess us up because when you go to the black-owned dry cleaner, it says, the sign says they open at 10, right? It's 11:30 and nobody's there. Somebody doesn't understand the science of business. See, when you go to McDonald's, part of the reason they're successful is because whatever McDonald's you go to, the fries all taste the same, right? No matter where you go. So when you're in your car, you can already say, well, if I have some, I know what McDonald's is going to taste like, right? See, I don't know what the little black-owned restaurant, the fries may be good or maybe they didn't change the grease and it's going to be nasty. Is that right? So that's part of the science of business. So they say they would never teach us that. They would never teach us the science of chemistry, right? Which is necessary in order to live. You know, you have to have the science of chemistry. Some of us may eat pig feet, right? Or chitlins, or fatback, or ham hock, or bacon, right? Some of y'all, when you don't have no lotion at home, you just rub bacon grease on your face. Come on. And then you hear a Muslim say, well, that's not good for you. And you say, well, it tastes good, right? See, that's because someone does not understand the science of chemistry and what these foods are doing to the body. As Minister Jason brought out, see, the white man manufactures food today, right? And the foods that we eat, we wonder, well, why is my 11-year-old daughter, why does she look like a grown woman? Right? She's 11. I teach in high school. And there was a time where like high school girls looked like girls. You could tell, okay, that's a high school girl. I can just look at her and tell. But today, you can't tell the difference. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, when you talk to them, you can tell. But just by looking at them, you can't tell the difference. See, the reason is because the enemy injects the foods that we eat with a hormone called estrogen. Estrogen, among the many other things he injects, estrogen is just one. Estrogen is the female hormone, right? The male has testosterone, the female has estrogen. Well, the estrogen helps the cows to produce more milk, causes them to get fat faster. You understand what I'm saying? Because the enemy doesn't have time to wait for the cow to grow, so he has to help the cow to grow. Y'all with me? So now, when you inject the food with estrogen, and then you go to McDonald's and get a double cheeseburger, and you're eating this, right? The estrogen that they injected into the cow is now in you, right? So what does it do to you? See, the estrogen in the male, unfortunately, gives him more feminine characteristics. And you say, oh, that nigga crazy. I don't believe that. Y'all, that's why I don't like y'all Muslims. Y'all just make up stuff. Now, when a man gets a sex change, right? He's not a woman, but he may have the body parts of a woman, right? So what does the doctor do to help change the man? To make his skin soft, to make his hair grow long, to make his features more round. What does he give him? He gives him estrogen pills, is that right? So you saying that he can get it from a pill, but you eating a cow that has it in it, and it can't affect you. See, we don't understand the science of chemistry. So you eat the cow, and you wonder why you look at a boy and you kind of think he looks nice. You don't know, do I like girls? Do I like boys? I'm going to experiment, and I'm going to find out. But you don't know that a game is being played on you, is that right? So now, I teach in public school, and there was a time where you could challenge the male student. And the male student, because of the testosterone, he would be like, oh, well, I'm going to get an A. What you mean I ain't going to get? I'm going to get me an A, watch. And he may get an A, may get it right. But now if you challenge the male student, he's like, what you picking on me for? What you mean? You want me to be a man? Why you picking on? I'm going to tell mom, you picking on me. That's the male student today. The only time he's brave is when he's with 50 of his friends, right? And now he can fight because he got 50 people with him. You understand what I'm saying? I'm telling you what I see every day. Then in the female, you ingest the estrogen, and the body of the female, excess estrogen in the female is converted to testosterone. So if you see a woman, and I'm not trying to make mockery, but if you see a woman that has a beard like they have in the circus, it's nothing, it's just that her body has manufactured too much estrogen. The body converts it to testosterone, which is the male hormone. Y'all understand? So now when the female is eating this food, now the body is converting the excess estrogen into what? Into testosterone, and now the female is becoming more aggressive. So now, all you do is look around. And I mean, I'm using myself because I work in public schools, and all the fights are among who? Females. If a girl drop her pencil, and another girl picks it up to give it back to her, before she can give it back, the girl busts in her mouth. Beep, oh, what you doing with my pencil? And it's a fight in the hallway. Now, all you do is talk to the young people. And the brothers, they be laid back, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I ain't even into no fighting, man. You know, I'm too busy getting blood, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And the girls are out there fighting. Now, the young people are laughing because they know what I'm saying is true. But now, and the girls, they don't know. Do they like boys? Do they like girls? You see them, they got braids, and you be like, looking at them like, is that a girl? Or is that a boy? And you don't know, right or wrong. But see, what I'm trying to say is, the enemy uses the knowledge of chemistry to ill affect us. The last one is the knowledge of warfare, because if you build business, you have to have warfare or the knowledge of it to protect whatever you build. And we definitely don't have the knowledge of warfare because, you know, some of us think, well, see, all this preaching, you know, all this talking y'all doing, see, what we need to do is just, you know, get some guns, man, you know what I'm saying? And just get at the white man. You smell me, B? You smell me? Right? So now, what if we did that? Who makes the guns? We don't make any gun companies, we don't own them, is that right? So if the GDs, the Moes, the Vice Lords, the Black Souls, the Four Corner Hustlers, the Latin Kings, and all the other gangs in Chicago came together as one gang, it's 90,000 GDs in Chicago, 12,000 police, right? Add all the other gangs, about 200,000, 12,000 Chicago police, who would win? The police would win. Because you can have all the guns and the white man would sell you no bullets. And then you would be looking real stupid, right? We got all these guns and no bullets. He could give you the guns and the bullets, right? As much as you want. And he wouldn't even have to come into the black community. He would just turn the water off, turn the gas off, turn the lights off, turn the TV off, turn your cell phone off, right? Stop food from coming in the neighborhood. And just sit on the outskirts and just wait you out. Once you ate the little bit of food you had in the house, you're going to give up, right? But that's the true science of warfare. We control nothing that affects their life, but they control everything that affects our life. So we're in a bad position, but it's not hopeless. All praise is due to Allah. Because God has raised someone up from among us. And that man's job is to raise the dead. You understand what I'm saying? So now I know when you come here, you think, well, y'all worship Farrakhan. All y'all talk about Farrakhan this, Farrakhan that, right? So now, and I used to think that when I first came to the mosque, I thought the same thing, but I just didn't understand. But see, what you must understand is that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the man that God raised in this time to raise the dead, which is you and I. So that's why we want you to focus on him. All praise is due to Allah. Now, see, the enemy, and I'm closing with this, the enemy already knows that the Honorable Louis Farrakhan is the man that will raise the dead. The problem is we don't know. Are y'all listening? So what we're trying to do is convince you that God has raised a man for your benefit. So now, the FBI in 1963, when Martin Luther King Jr. held the March on Washington, y'all listening? When Martin Luther King Jr. held the March on Washington in 63, and 250,000 people showed up, the assistant director of the FBI, his name is William Sullivan, he wrote a memo to J. Edgar Hoover, and he said that Martin Luther King is the most powerful Negro in America because of his ability to mobilize 250,000 people. Y'all got that? That's in 63. They say he's the most powerful Negro in America. Well, now I remember in 1995, a man had another March on Washington, is that right? And 250,000 people didn't show. 500,000 people didn't show. 1 million people didn't show. It was 2 million people that showed up for the march in 95. All praise is due to Allah. All praise is due to Allah. Now listen carefully, because in 1963, the government of America, Kennedy and them, they funded the March on Washington. They were the ones that paid for the buses for the people to come to D.C. They're the ones, I'm talking about the government, that bought the signs, "We want jobs," in 63. Nobody paid their own way. The government paid their way. You understand? So now, but in 95, the government was not involved. I'm saying the government shut down. Y'all don't even remember that, do you? When we went to Washington, D.C., now if the Honorable Louis Farrakhan brought 10 times as many as Martin Luther King in 63, he brings 10 times as many. Then what memo did they write about him? Are you listening? And if in 63 they recognized Martin Luther King as the most powerful man, then what did they think of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan in 2005? Are y'all listening? So now, but in 95, the brothers paid their own way. The march was on a Monday. which was a work day. Schools all across America shut down. People sent their children to the march. Is that right? And when the government found out that it was going to be successful, they shut everything down in D.C. President Clinton went to Texas. The Congress was shut down. Everything, right or wrong. So now, what was their mind saying about a man like that? Are y'all with me? See, what you have to understand, the Holy Quran says in chapter 2, verse 146, that they recognize him as they recognize their own son. See, the enemy, they know who the minister is. Now, could you imagine 100 people in a room and your child is one of them? You're going to know your child, is that right? Out of all 100, out of all 1,000, it doesn't matter, is that right? But they recognize the minister as they recognize their own children. Meaning they know who he is in the Bible. Are y'all with me? And in the Holy Quran. Now, so the Honorable Louis Farrakhan is really the greatest fear of the enemy, and here's why. There's a scientific law called the law of inertia, which says a body at rest tends to stay at rest until acted upon by an external force greater than the force of inertia. Well, the force of inertia is the thing that's holding it in its place. You understand what I'm saying? So now you have to ask the question, what is holding black people and has held black people in our place? And if a man comes and delivers a word and is able to move us, then who has the greater power? The one that's holding us, or the one that's able to move us from the one that's holding us? Are y'all listening? Let's just talk about it. Now, what's holding us in our place? You see, we've been in slavery 310 years, right? From 1555 to 1865, 310 years, right? From 1555 to 1790, 235 years, we were not allowed to read, right? From 1790 to 1865, we were only allowed to read one book, and that was the Bible, and only certain parts of the Bible, part that said, obey your master, right? If somebody slapped you on the cheek, turn the cheek, right? And we still believe that to this day. No, if somebody hits you on one cheek, the cheek that you turn is their cheek, from a right cross, or a jab, or an uppercut. You understand what I'm saying? We don't believe in no, let somebody know. But that's how we were taught during slavery, is that right? And when Nat Turner got the Bible, he read where it said an eye for an eye. He's like, wait a minute, an eye for an eye? A tooth for a tooth? A life for a life? Any man that takes another man in bondage should be killed. See, when Nat Turner read that, he wrecked shop. So they would only let us read certain parts of the Bible. So then from 1865 to like 1955, we were given an inferior education, right? No books, no desk, kindergarten through 12th grade in one classroom. Are y'all with me? So these were the things that were holding us in our place, right? We suffered 100 years of Jim Crow and lynching, right? Then we started to protest in the 60s. After the civil rights movement, the enemy brings crack into the black community, right? Y'all know what BC stands for, right? Not before Christ, before crack. Y'all with me? Because there's a way we lived before crack, and then there's now, right? So the enemy brings crack in so that we wouldn't even want to hear the message of God coming from the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. You look in the black community, and there's a liquor store, a church, a Walgreens. A liquor store, a church, a Walgreens. And they sell liquor, right? So now, so they're putting all these things in place to keep us where we are. Now it's 2006, and since none of that has worked, now they've allowed you to get you a little white girlfriend. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the white woman is the white man's last trick. So now you see brothers on television with a white woman on their arm, is that right? You see Cuba Gooding Jr., you see him, don't you? You see Tiger Woods, right? You see, I don't know all of them, I just see him, right? What's the man's name? The actor's name. Tay Diggs? He sold out too? Now, see, there was a time we would get lynched for walking under the dress of a white woman that was on a clothesline in the yard. White woman in town picking up groceries. We just walked under the dress and we would be hung from a tree. Flirting with a white woman, looking at a white woman, or like Emmett Till, whistling at a white woman, right? But now, to keep us deceived, they've allowed us to date or be with their women. Is that right? But through all of this, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan is still successful. Is that right? So the thing that we have to understand, and I'm closing out with this. I know y'all ready to go. That the enemy developed a plan called COINTELPRO, which means the counterintelligence program, which they used to destroy all the black organizations in the 60s, including the Nation of Islam. And they had 4 objectives of COINTELPRO. Objective number 1 was they wanted to prevent the rise of a black messiah. Notice they used the word messiah, right? Because J. Edgar Hoover was a Shriner. Did y'all know that? If you didn't, now you know. Shriners read this book. See, when you're a Mason, when you go from the 1st degree to the 31st degree, you only read out of the Bible. When you get to the 32nd degree of Masonry, they introduce you to the Holy Quran. If you go to the Masonic Lodge, the white ones, the Scottish Rite and New York Rite, on the podium, they have a Bible and a Holy Quran. Y'all understand? Is that right, Brother Marcus? So now, J. Edgar Hoover was a Shriner, and he read this book. So he knew the exact language to use. You understand? So he said that he wanted to prevent the rise of a black messiah that could unify and electrify the black movement. Now, that was their first fear. I want you to look at the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. He's the only black leader in America and the world that has the ability to unify all of the civil rights organizations, all of the black groups for one goal, right or wrong. We call that the Millions More movement, but the only one that has that unifying message is the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. Y'all got that? He said, all praise is due to Allah. All praise is due to Allah. He said that, or not he, meaning J. Edgar Hoover, said that they wanted to prevent any black nationalist group from gaining respectability in the society. The most respected leader, black leader, in America and the world is who? The Honorable Louis Farrakhan. Is that right? Most respected, hands down, most popular, hands down. I know y'all think T.D. Jakes is popular, and he is. He's not more popular than the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. You understand? I know y'all think Creflo Dollar is popular, and he is. He's not more popular than the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. I know you think that Al Sharpton is popular and Jesse Jackson, and they are. And I'm not saying this to take anything away from them, but all I'm saying is this, that God has made the Honorable Louis Farrakhan the most popular black leader, not just in America, but in the world. Do y'all know who the most famous Muslim in the world is? All praise is due to Allah. The most famous Muslim on the planet Earth is the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. When you think about Islam in America, who do you think about? The Arabs? Or as you say, Arabs? No! You think about who? The Honorable Louis Farrakhan. Is that right? So now, another fear that the enemy had was that they did not want the black nationalist organizations or groups to connect with the young people. Because they understood that if the black nationalist groups connected with young people, then there would be no end to those groups. Y'all got me? Because the young people are the future of anything. So now, if you go to the NAACP today, it's nothing but old people, right? SCLC, old people. Black organizations, it's mainly what? Old people. But the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, when the rappers have beef, who do they call? They call the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, is that right? When they want a dispute settled in the hip-hop community, they call who? They call the peacemaker, is that right? They call the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. The only leader that the young people respect is the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. The enemy never wanted that, because in the 60s, all of these organizations were run by young people, made up of young people, right? You go to the young people today, talk to them on the block, and ask them, do they care anything about Martin Luther King? And they'll tell you, man, I don't care about no Martin Luther the King, man, you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to be the king of the block, you know, that's what I'm talking about, being the king of the block, you know, slanging. Go talk to them. They don't care nothing about no civil rights. What is a civil right? Rosa Parks? Who is that? She was just tired, that's all. That's what they'll tell you. So now, but this man is connected with the youth, is that right? Then the enemy, and I'm closing, issued what he called National Security Memorandum number 46. You can look all of this up. In National Security Memorandum number 46, he said, and this is under Jimmy Carter, because you all think that Democrats don't do things to black people when they do the same thing, right? You know, Jimmy Carter issued National Security Memorandum number 46, where he said that no American black leader should connect with black people in Africa. That they wanted to prevent any business dealings, any kind of connection between blacks in America and blacks in Africa. Y'all got that? So now, look at the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. When they decided to start the African Union, which is the union of all of the countries in Africa into one united body, there was only one leader from America that was called to be a part of the African Union. And that leader was the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. All praise is due to Allah. All praise is due to Allah. So now, I'm ending with this. Brothers and sisters, we read in the Bible in the book of John, chapter 11, the story of Lazarus, right? And Lazarus was a man who was a friend of Jesus that died. And the people, or Jesus, or Lazarus' sister, Martha and Mary, wanted Jesus to come and raise Lazarus. And they really came to him while Lazarus was sick, but Jesus took his time getting to Lazarus, right? Lazarus dies. Jesus finally gets there. Lazarus has been dead for 4 days, right? And Mary, or Martha, I'm not sure which one, I think it was Martha. Martha was angry because Jesus took so long. Y'all with me? And Jesus just brushed it aside. And the greatest miracle, according to the scholars, of Jesus was that he raised Lazarus from the dead. When Jesus got there, the body was already stinking. It was wrapped up in the cloth. It was in the tomb. He said, move the brick, right? He didn't even go in the tomb. He just called out to Lazarus. Lazarus rose from the dead, got out the tomb, took the cloth off, and he was alive. They went back and told the Pharisees and the Sadducees. And then they agreed to do what? They agreed, well, it's time to kill Jesus, because if we let him go, then the whole world is going to follow him. And that's the point where we are in the scriptures right now. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan has raised Lazarus from the dead. All praise is due to Allah. And the world is following him now. So the enemy thinks that they're going to make their move on our man. You understand what I'm saying? Before the whole world just bows to his wisdom. But the Holy Quran says this: the devil's plan and Allah plans, and Allah is the best of planners. I would like to leave you as I came before you with the greeting words of peace. We say it in the Arabic language of Assalamu alaikum. All praise is due to Allah. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Now, let me, before I continue, let me clarify something. When I said that there were 3 sciences that the enemy said that they would never teach us, I meant to say the science of mating. In the book, it says the science of mating. Now, it was mentioned later, the science of chemistry, but in Message to the Black Man, it says the science of mating, which we have never been taught that. Is that right? Because most of us choose our mate based on what? She has a big butt, she's the one. Right? He has a lot of money, he's rolling on dubs. Right? He got a platinum chain. Girl, he got a grill. He's the one, right? So we haven't been taught the science of mating, the science of how to choose the correct mate. Brothers and sisters, I pray that how many of us, let me ask a few questions. How many of us believe that what we heard today to be the truth and good for black people? Can I see by a show of hands? All praise is due to Allah. Give him a round of applause. All praise is due to Allah. Now, can I see how many of you here are here for your first, second, third, fourth time to the mosque? You're visiting us today. Can I see by a show of hands? All right, give our guests, please give them a round of applause. Now, my last question is this. I would like to know how many of you who are here for your first, second, third time, however many times you've been here, if you believe what you heard today to be the truth and good for black people, how many of you would like to help the Honorable Louis Farrakhan to spread this truth to as many of our people as we possibly can? Can I see that by a show of hands? If you would like to help the Honorable Louis Farrakhan to spread this truth to our people, can I see by a show of hands? All praise is due to Allah. Now, here's what I'm going to ask. Now, listen carefully. This is not an altar call. I don't want y'all to think that this is an altar call. All we're saying is, all you're saying is you want to learn more so you can share what you learned today with the rest of our people, right? So what we ask is that you fill out a pledge card just stating your intention that you want to learn more. So I need the people that raised their hand. If the Honorable Louis Farrakhan was here, he would shake your hand and welcome you to Mosque Mariam and thank you for your desire to help him. So since he's not here, I would like to shake the people that raised their hand. I would like to shake your hand and welcome you to Mosque Mariam and just give you, the brother's going to give you this pledge card so that you can fill it out. The people that raised their hand, if you could please stand and come down the center aisle.
All praise is due to Allah, family. We can do better than that. Put your hands together. All praise is due to Allah as our brothers and sisters make their way down the center aisle because they heard truth and they accepted truth, and now they are prepared and getting ready to stand on truth. Oh, don't die out now, family. Put your hands together. All praise is due to Allah. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. And that simply means God is the greatest.
Okay, yes, sir.
Say it right.
Yes, sir.
Assalamu alaikum, family. As they say, hot off the presses, right? Minister Ishmael wants to extend the greetings to you and his love. He is in Detroit right now. And he's on his way from Detroit from a successful planning session for our Savior's Day. All praises due to Allah. And he said that he was blessed to watch Minister Abdul and congratulated him on his representation of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Let's give our brother a warm round of applause. Allahu Akbar. So we're going to have Brother Minister Marcus close us out with charity as well as a few closing announcements. Please give him a warm round of applause.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. How's everybody feeling? Now that round of applause that you gave Minister Abdul, it was okay. But as hard as this brother taught, let's show our love, Mosque Mariam, and put our hands together for Brother Minister Abdul for putting together that wonderful breakfast for us this morning. And you know, he's not a part-time teacher because he's in the public food system. Did I say something wrong? Excuse me, the public school system every day, dealing with the despised and the sure enough rejected. And he's used his knowledge and wisdom. They didn't mention, did they say he was teacher of the year? They did? And out of all the Chicago public school system teachers, Mayor Daley, that's who I said, came forth and gave a brother and his family a $5,000 check for being the teacher of the year. And that's Brother Abdul Muhammad. You know, sometimes we don't know what's in our midst. While we're looking over here, the bubbling well is right underneath our feet. So we at the closing phase of our program, and I'm excited and delighted to ask you to support the Honorable Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam. Now, my grandmother, she was notorious, I won't say notorious, but she would always tell us, you got to put your money, guess what? Not where your foot is, but where your mouth is. And anytime you love and support something, then you support it